Hey everybody, Zachary here. So I just cranked up the truck because it's a little toasty outside, and as you can see I have the curtain pulled behind me to keep all the nice cold air in the living quarters, not the driving quarters. So I want to go ahead and talk about Melton Truck Lines. So that's who I'm currently employed with, and I actually just got my vehicle issued to me on Friday. Today would be a Sunday, and then we're going to get released to actually begin work on our own on Monday. So I wanted to kind of go over Melton Truck Lines and what my experience has been with them so far. There are tons of videos about Melton Truck Lines, but I kind of wanted to go over it as far as their orientation process, because I didn't see very much regarding this process and how it works, other than the information they provide you on their website, which is a lot, to be fair. They provide you a lot. They're very transparent on a lot of things, which is great. I love that about them. So, to begin, I work for Melton Truck Lines. I have just gotten my vehicle issued to me after completing their orientation and I guess road training or on-the-job training, whatever you want to call it, where you're with a driver trainer out on his truck for 3 weeks. Basically, you drive for that period of time to ensure that you can operate the vehicle safely and that you know how to secure the loads, which is the whole purpose of their orientation. So Melton's orientation is strictly like the first 3-4 days are paperwork, and then you go into load securement for about a week and a half of how to secure different loads, how to use their straps, how to use chains, how they want you to do things. So a cool thing with Melton, before we get into everything, is as far as flatbedding, they double the DOT standard. So your load is guaranteed to be secure if you do it the Melton way, because they over-secure everything. That's their policy. Their policy is your securement for an object should be the item's weight or more. Now, DOT's requirement is it needs to be half the item's weight or more. So automatically, right off the bat, we're doing twice the securement. DOT is every 10 foot for securement, Melton is every 5 foot. So be safe. So let's go ahead and get into it. So for starters, when you come for orientation, the recruiting department will help you get to Melton, to their Tulsa, Oklahoma terminal. So you have a couple options there just to go over them, which they may change in the future. You know, I'm speaking from my experience with going through this process, not as a public relations person for Melton Truck Lines. So in my experience with it, they give you a couple options. You can either take a Greyhound bus that they'll provide for you. Depending on where you live at, they may fly you. Depending on the cost difference between the Greyhound bus and flying, and the time difference as well. You don't want to be stuck on a little seat in the bus for a day and a half. And then you can also drive yourself. So if you have your own personal vehicle, or if you're going to CDL school nearby, you can drive. So in my personal experience, I drove 8 hours from my home to complete my CDL course at ATDS Truck Driving School in Waco, Texas. And then after that, I drove from Waco, Texas to Tulsa, Oklahoma, for the CDL school, or not the CDL school, for orientation. And they will reimburse you for your expenses up to that point. So how the reimbursements work for that, don't expect the reimbursements while you're in orientation. The reimbursements for that, for coming to training, for their orientation, you get that back after you get your vehicle issued to you. So how I just got my truck issued to me, within my first week to 2 weeks, I should have the reimbursements for that. So the reimbursements are contingent upon you passing their orientation and passing their road training, and getting your own vehicle assigned to you. Basically, once you become an employee, that's when they'll reimburse you. So the orientation, they keep you in one of two hotels. There's a Hampton Inn, which is fairly nice, and then a Sure Stay, which is still moderately nice. It just doesn't have the amenities that the Hampton Inn has. So they'll keep you in one of the two hotels, so they pay for your housing while you're here at orientation. So your orientation for the first week, or rather for the transportation, they have buses that will come pick you up. They have like a school bus that will come, as well as multiple vans that the company actually owns that will come and transport you from your hotel to orientation. So whenever you go, the first week of orientation is mainly paperwork, doing tests, going over paperwork, reviewing how to do a paper log, and making sure that you understand how to do everything. And if you don't, they'll help you to some extent in understanding how to do all that. And then you go into load securement. So your first week will mainly be paperwork in a classroom setting, and then you start to go outside and like learn how to secure loads, like flat steel, suicide coils, shotgun coils, rolled roofing, palletized items, AC units, big metal poles like light poles and things like that. You go over quite a bit in the first week, and how like Melton does their securement, what their weight ratings are, everything like that. So that's what you do in your first week. Now in your second week, after you finish the first week, then you go over to a different building, which is actually where they resell used trucks. After they reach around 400,000 miles, they sell all their 18-wheelers. And whenever their trailers get to a certain age, they'll resell those as well. So then you go to that building, and they have what they call the Marshall building. In the Marshall building, they have multiple trailers. I believe there's 12 or 13, if I'm not mistaken. And most of those you have to tarp. But it gives you practice on securing the loads properly as a team, because they put you in groups of like 4 or 5. And so you get to secure the loads properly and go through how to do that, and then also tarping effectively. And that's what you do in your second week. Your second week is basically all doing loads. How to secure the load properly, how to tarp it properly, and going over all that information. And then so once you complete all of that on your second week, during your second week, you also have your backing. So they have a road course. It's not like the DOT road course. It is cones, and you should not hit a cone, obviously. But so it simulates a stop sign, like a 4-way stop sign, and turning to your left from a stop sign. And then with that, at the stop sign, you also have backing. So you have 3 different backing maneuvers you have to do. One is I should say all of them are straight line backings. Let's just put that out there. However, they have one that's a straight back, one that is a 45-degree angle back, and one that's a 90-degree angle back. And they show you how to do everything before they get there, and they have like little cues of where to like take your truck to show you how to do it effectively. So basically you have those 3 different backings. They show you how to do them effectively, and you basically have unlimited time and pull-ups to do it in. I would recommend you not take all day to do it, obviously, because if you're going to be a truck driver, you need to be able to drive the truck some sort of way before you get here. Because they basically just put you in the truck, hand you the key to it, and say, okay, do the road course. And then when you get to each station, they'll explain to you what to do. So like after you drive through the cones and you get to like, say, the straight back station. Well, so the cones are right here, and you're coming in at an angle, and this is the backing area you have to back into. So you come in at an angle to the wall, pull out, because you have to catch up to your trailer. So you pull out and then pull back in, and then you're straight with your trailer. Then you just back it into the spot. And there's a barricade behind you, so you basically just look at like kind of where the shadow of the trailer's at, where the trailer tire's at, in reference to the barricade to stop in time. Sometimes the instructor will let you know like, hey, you're good, go ahead and go to the next one. But so they explain all those backing stations to you. So after those 2 weeks of orientation, and I should say, on the first week you do a road test. So on like your 3rd or 4th day in the first week, they'll take you outside to a truck, just like driving school, like your CDL school, wherever you went, and you'll drive around the city. They have a pre-planned route, and they don't tell you ahead of time, they do it based off of roads. So they'll basically tell you, you'll get on like a road and just start driving, and they'll say, okay, turn left on 12th Street, and then you have to like look at the signs, like, okay, this is 11th, the next one's 12th, get there, and okay, yeah, this is 12th, and then turn left. You get on the interstate, and they'll say, hey, take exit. Well, actually, they don't ever give you exit numbers, they give you road, the actual road. So you'll be on the interstate, and they'll say, hey, turn left on 44 East, and you're driving down the interstate, and you have to like read the signs that say like exit 12A, 44 East or 44 West, and then you have to take the correct exit for that. Now, if you mess up, they'll redirect you. They'll be like, hey, turn right at this road. You know, get back on the path. But that's how they do the road test. They do it based off street names, so you know how to orientate yourself while you're driving, and that you know how to take turns effectively without curbing the vehicle. They don't want you to curb the tires on the trailer. They don't want you to curb the tires on the tractor. So basically, can you make turns properly? So, moving on from that to your actual road training with your trainer, because you get assigned a driver trainer. They give you a sheet to fill out based on preferences, like, do you smoke? Are you okay with dogs? Would you be okay with a different sex trainer? Like if you're a male, are you okay with being with a female? If you're female, are you okay with being with a male? You do all that on a preference sheet. Then after your second week is complete, they assign you to a trainer, and you go, and that's if you have no prior experience. If you have prior experience of driving with another company, which I believe it's 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, then after your 2 weeks of orientation, they just give you the keys to a truck. Hey, have a good day. And then you log in, you set everything up, and you're good to go. So if you're without prior experience, then you have to go on the truck with a trainer for 3 weeks. So how that went is they basically assign you a trainer. Either they're there at the terminal to pick you up, or you have to go fly to them or get transported to them. So in my case, I ended up flying into Atlanta, Georgia from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then my trainer picked me up there. They give you Uber rides. So anytime you have to go anywhere with this company, they will make sure you have a hotel room, you have a Uber ride. They'll give you Uber confirmations on your phone, so you can like click a link and get a ride. They'll make sure you have a hotel room, an Uber, and typically they'll also reimburse you for food depending on what you're doing, especially for training. Depending on what you're doing, they may reimburse you for food. But so anywhere you go with Melton Truck Lines, they take care of you. And then so you fly out to your trainer. I got an Uber to go meet him at his truck. They tell you to bring at a max 3 bags, because you will live in the upper bunk of the truck. Like, that's your space. It's the trainer's truck. You're just there to drive the truck, to show that you can drive the truck effectively, secure the loads, make sure you know how to tarp and secure the load effectively, and the trainer will show you like little tips and tricks they have. But you live, which you can't see it now because I have the curtains pulled, but there's a top bunk up there, and you will live there while you're in their truck. And like all your stuff stays on your bed. So you put like your bags at the foot of your bed, and when you go to sleep, you'll just shove your feet under it, like under the blankets. So like stretch out, you'll just shove your feet under your bags. So that's how that process will work. But you're with them for 3 weeks. I was in the Northeast and then had a load that went down to Texas and then up to Utah. So I drove, I believe it ended up being like 5,200 miles before I completed the 3 weeks. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, then you get transferred back to the main terminal in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You have to keep a paper logbook with you, like as if you didn't have the digital one. You still have to use the digital log because they show you how to use the OmniTrack system. But you also have a paper logbook that you keep track just as if you didn't have it. So you have to keep track on that. And you basically turn that in when you get back. They review it, make sure that you didn't make any like major mistakes, which your driver trainer should help you with it to some degree. And then if everything's good to go, you didn't wreck the truck, like you didn't hit a barricade going through a construction zone or something like that, then you're good to go. And then they basically assign you a vehicle from there. Now, when the vehicle assignments came into effect, so this is how that process worked. So I got back on a Tuesday, and I got back on a Tuesday morning around midnight. So I got back on Monday at midnight, and then on Tuesday I came to the office turning on my paperwork. Then on Tuesday, turned on my paperwork, did all the paperwork forms, got everything certified. Now I'm waiting for a truck. So then on Wednesday, whenever we're there, they had no trucks available at the moment here. So they will fly you to like Birmingham, Alabama, where they have a terminal. I believe they have one in Ohio as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then they also have one in Laredo, Texas. So if they have trucks available at other terminals, which in this case we had a lot in Alabama, then they will fly you to Alabama. You'll go to that terminal, go to the maintenance department, pick up the key to your truck, and they'll assign it to you there. For me, we didn't have any vehicles available for 2 days that I was there. So they offered recoveries while you're waiting to get assigned your truck. And through this whole process, even like today, right now, I'm still getting $100 a day. Because even though I have my truck assigned to me, I'm not released yet from the training department. So I'm still getting $100 a day. And I have been for the past 6 weeks. Because this is my 6th week here at Melton. So I did a recovery. So for the recovery, they fly you out to where a truck's at. Maybe it had a mechanical issue, or the previous driver abandoned it. Like the one that I had specifically, it had a brake issue where they had to take it into the shop to get fixed, and the windshield had to be replaced. So I went to this place in Denver, Colorado, flew in from Tulsa, Oklahoma, went there, got the keys to the truck, got the paperwork that showed what they did, and drove it back from Denver, Colorado to Tulsa, Oklahoma as if it was under a load, per se. They give you all the information, they give you a fuel stop, you have a company like a Comdata credit card to get fuel and any maintenance requirements and things like that. And then you're basically on your own at that point. You know, you have to manage your hours and just get the truck back. park wherever you want, stop at rest areas, whatever you want to do. But for the recovery, I still got the $100 a day, but they also pay you 40 cents a mile on top of that for recoveries, is what it was whenever I did it. So for that one run, it was like 680 miles, and I did it in one full day. I literally had like 9 minutes left on my drive time by the time I finished and got to the terminal. But I only did that because I knew I could make it to the terminal, and once I got to the terminal, I could go off, because I just needed to wait till the next morning to check everything in. But for that, I got, I believe it was like $360, somewhere around there, because it was 680 miles at 40 cents a mile plus $100. So I got around $340, $350 for that run. Gross, of course. That will be on my next paycheck. So awesome. Way to make money whenever you're waiting to get your truck. And then so that day I got back, I got this truck issued to me. So I got back on a Friday morning, and then I got this truck issued to me. It's a brand new 2022 Kenworth. I'd say brand new. It has 80,000 miles, but basically brand new. And I got this truck assigned to me, and it was actually one I went and had to pick up. They had it at a Kenworth dealer getting detailed. And so I went to the Kenworth dealer and picked up the truck, drove it back, and then they assigned it to me as my truck. And that's another bonus with doing the recoveries. If you do them, if they have them available, you basically get like the newest truck they have, because it's kind of like a thank you for helping them, because I brought back a truck that they can detail and give to the next person that comes through. And then they also say, hey, well, you know, since you did that recovery, now you're at the top of the list. You get the next truck that's available. The nicest next truck that we have, you get, since you did the recovery. Versus the person who might have got back that day, and then there is a truck available, but they're not going to get the nicest one, basically. So it's kind of like a thank you. Other than that, I've set up my truck, and Melton has been great. And that was just kind of the overview of how their orientation works with the road training, and then coming back after the 3 weeks of road training and getting your truck issued to you. Sometimes it's instantly, and sometimes if it's not, you have to wait 2 or 3 days. You're still getting paid, they still keep you in a hotel, and they provide you lunch. So whenever you're in orientation, they provide you food. I believe it was Firehouse Subs. Some days, like on one day it was Firehouse Subs. Other than that, the Melton Terminal actually has a cafe that makes food. And it's pretty good. Like they have a chef that makes really good food. It's not like you go to a cafeteria at school or something. Like they have a certified chef that makes just killer food. And you go pick that up for your lunch every day. And so that's kind of the overview for Melton Truck Lines. And I mean, it's been great for me so far. I've really enjoyed it. And you know, you do have to put in work for those little days in orientation. You know, securing the loads, learning how everything works, because that's all you're doing for 2 weeks straight, is throwing chains and rolling tarps. But you need to know how to do that stuff, because not only is it like a requirement because you have to secure your own stuff, but like your safety is at hand too. There's plenty of videos where people like don't secure pipes or coils properly, and you end up getting killed for it because you don't do your job properly, you don't secure the load properly. So I'm very appreciative for Melton for doing all of that. So yeah, that's kind of my recap with Melton and kind of the process of whenever you get hired and how that works as a generality. Now, if you have any questions about it, any comments or concerns, want to know anything about it, you can go ahead and comment it on the video, and I'll try to get back to you when I can. I'll try to be sure to keep up with that. That way, if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. I can go over it for you. And I'll also do a video later on of like a truck review to try to show you like what I ended up getting. But have a good day.